For all the people wondering, you made it along on this tour also, didn't you? You've never been to North Carolina, so we had to make sure you made it. Here we're pulling into this little town, Ellerbe. Here we are at the Rankin Museum. Today we're going to look at the collection of memorabilia of Andre the Giant, also known as Monster Rusimov and Giante Ferrer, Polish Giant, all kinds of names, but we knew him as Andre the Giant or Andre Rusimov. So inside the museum they have a whole vast history of the area that you can see everything from Civil War to Native Americans, but what we're looking for is as soon as you walk in, you make a left and there's an Andre room here. So here you can see an original event poster. Interesting thing about Andre is that he never really needed the championship. He was just, people loved him so much, whether he was a good guy, which most of his career he was, and then when he was a bad guy, people loved to hate him, so they just never really found the need to make him a champ. Look, Chief Wahoo. Plus he traveled so much. He would get loaned out to Japan and go wrestle everywhere. Now look in this case. That's his Japan Pro Wrestling zip up. Look how big that thing is. Holy cow. I don't think people realize what he was one of the first really truly international stars. He was traveling to Baghdad, South Africa, Japan, all over Europe. In fact, there's an insane story. There's Andre actually here at the Rankin Museum. That photo right there, he's sitting in here. But yeah, he was like 24 and he was wrestling in Baghdad against the guy that we would later know as General Adnan, and they were doing a best of 3 match, and Andre never lost. That was just the thing. That was how they like kept his mystique, was that he never lost. And apparently Saddam Hussein went into General Adnan, opened up his jacket and showed him a golden gun and said, "Don't worry, if you don't win, I'm gonna unleash every bullet into that fat head of his." So General Adnan got scared and went and told Andre, "Hey, you're gonna have to let me win some of these matches or you're gonna get killed." so they did it by disqualification, and then Andre like rolled underneath the ring and hid under the ring. And then eventually later on, I guess he met Saddam Hussein, and Saddam Hussein said, if you lose some weight, you'll be a star. There's Andre here hanging out with a local resident of Ellerbe. There's Hulk Hogan here for Andre's funeral with Frenchie. Frenchie was one of Andre's best friends, along with Jackie. In fact, the ranch that Andre owned was called the AFJ Ranch. Andre, Frenchie, and Jackie. And that's where they scattered his ashes. You can see the photo here is at the when they scattered his ashes on the ranch. And I believe it was because of Jackie. They originally wanted to bury him, but Jackie said that she knew and fought for it, knew that he wanted to be cremated and scattered, so. Here he is at the age of 21. Now you see that leather-bound book? That's Andre's scrapbook. That's his wrestling scrapbook. That thing must be amazing. And then when he moved out here, his ranch was a Longhorn ranch. So there you can see him out there herding the cattle. Look way off to the left, that's him on the 3-wheeler herding cattle. And then right below it have his Texas Longhorn membership. Andrei Rusumov. Now this is cool. These are all home photos inside his house. He had a 3-story house here. I would love to see inside of, if we could. You know, I know we probably can't, but because it would have had to have been huge for him to feel comfortable. And right up there is Jackie. Photo of him and Jackie. Him holding his own stocking. Then there's Frenchie and Jackie. Remember when he used to have that long hair? He lost it in a match. They cut his hair in a match. And there's Frenchie and Andrei. And Andrei with this Christmas tree. And take a look at that. Those are his cowboy boots and his belt that says the Giant on it. That's so cool. And then that barn is still out there. Frenchie is up there, top of the barn at AFJ. Then here we have one of the rare jackets that Andrei would wear in the ring. You can see him wearing it right there. And then if you look down here, you can see his mask when he was in a tag team. The machines, he was the Giant Machine. Which is great because it's like it was totally him wearing the one-strap singlet. You could totally tell it was him. Look at his boots, size 26 boots. Wow. And then look, there's 2 of his singlets, the black that we would know from like his WrestleMania 3 era, and then a yellow one. And the reason he started wearing the one-strap singlet was because he had a back brace that he was covering up and couldn't wear the normal, regular that he used to. Andrei and Haku. Then one of his sashes from the Madison Square Garden, and he's wearing it right there. Take a look at that. Those are Andrei's crutches. Probably from, I know they had to especially make them for him, probably when he hurt his ankle that time. And there's a picture of him using some. Muhammad Ali and Andrei right there. Comparing hand sizes. And then here it says compare your hand size to Andrei's. And that looks like that same shirt that he's wearing in those photos with the 3-wheelers. Yeah, not even close. Not even close. And here's a drawing that Bret the Hitman Hart did for Andrei as a gift. Bret's a pretty talented artist, and he did this when Andrei broke his ankle. Bret portrayed himself in the drawing by allowing Andrei to hold his small body in the air while Mr. Perfect looks on. And look at that, the back of the caricature drawing by Bret has messages from all the wrestlers that are depicted in there. It's very cool. Starting with Bret's right up there. And Andrei was a real jokester too. There was a story that Dusty Rhodes told one time that when he was tag teaming with Andrei, they were traveling somewhere and Dusty had his wife and his mom with him, and Andrei had been in that famous episode of $6 Million Man with Lee Majors, and he waits till Dusty's asleep and calls from the lobby and says, "Hey, Lee Majors and Farrah Fawcett are here and they want to meet you, come on down." So Dusty gets up and gets everybody dressed and comes down, and the only person down there is a cleaning woman vacuuming the floor. Classic. Look at that. Original WrestleMania hats. WrestleMania 3. And speaking of, there's a picture of Andre in that costume playing Bigfoot. And the crazy thing is he was so popular when he did that they wanted him to come back. And he just didn't want to do it. He didn't want to wear the costume or anything anymore. And he said, I wouldn't do that for $50,000. So they offered him $50,000 and he still wouldn't do it. So they got what's his, from Adam's Family, Lurch, to take over. But Lee Majors said for years that that was one of his favorite episodes. He loved working with Andre. And then here he is in Conan, on the set of Conan, with Wilt Chamberlain. And then there's Andre on the set of Zorro. He got quite a few acting gigs, including with Dudley Moore. Look at this. This is from Mickey and Maud. That's his tuxedo with the pink shirt. Andre's fame as a wrestler and his giant stature made him a notable candidate for television and film. He made his debut in the 1970s playing a Sasquatch in the TV series $6 Million Man with Lee Majors. He appeared in other television shows including The Greatest American Hero, BJ and the Bear, The Fall Guy, and 1990 Zorro. But he was actually in French TV when he was starting out as a wrestler. They were putting him within the first couple of years on French TV, even before that. And then look, here he is in the wedding scene wearing that tuxedo. What a great movie. And it says Andre wore this tuxedo in the movie Mickey and Maud, where he made an appearance as himself. His favorite role was Fezzik the Giant in 1987's The Princess Bride. Another notable film appearance was the resurrected horned giant god Dagoth with Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Conan the Destroyer movie. And here he is in Conan the Destroyer. And Rob Reiner said that he loved Andre. He knew he wanted Andre for this right away when he started working on it, and said that he was very funny on set, that he was always joking around. They even got him a three-wheeler he could ride around. And he said that they soon found out he had legendary gas. There's his script for Zorro. And Princess Bride. And that was a gift by a woman here in Ellerbe to Andre. Little figure of himself as Fezzik. So take a look at this. These are two rings that were given to Andre by a bar he attended frequently in Detroit. The silver ring is an NFL Detroit Lions ring, and the gold ring is a Detroit Pistons 1989 World Championship ring. Look how big his fingers were. Oh my gosh. No joke, I could fit 3 of my fingers inside there. Here you can see a photo of a battle royale. That was something that they ended up doing a lot of with Andre because that was a way for him to not get pinned. That was a big deal. They didn't want to ever see him get pinned. He could get disqualified or something like that, but they never wanted to see him actually shoulders to the mat, 1, 2, 3. And he would actually, I read that he would get kind of angry sometimes because they would book him, pay him for one night, but then they would force him to do this and another match. So he was actually wrestling 2 matches. And there's a frame from the animated series. When I met Roddy Piper for the very first time, he said, "How old are you? When were you born?" I said, "I was born in 1981. He said, "Then you found out about me from the cartoon." I know you did. And take a look at this tennis racket. That racket is about the size of 2 basketballs inside the netting. And it says the owner of a French restaurant, La Serre, in Studio City, gave Andre this large tennis racket. The racket was a promotional item from a gin company. Look how big. There he is with that racket. All right, Jackie said that Andre used to love to come to Dixie Burger. Let's try out Dixie Burger while we're here. I think I've seen photos of him inside of here. I guess they're not doing indoor dining here. I love they have the old school menu boards. And if you get here for breakfast, you can get liver pudding I see on there. But yeah, this is where she said that Andre used to come and eat a lot of meals. So I ordered the cheeseburger and they said theirs comes with onions, slaw, cheese, and onions, I believe. Oh, you can even get grits. And that's definitely the original floor that Andre would have walked on. And you gotta assume that that Food King here in Ellerbe, since it's pretty much the only grocery store, that's probably where he got his groceries. Right next door, the Dixie Burger. Ellerbe picnic table dining, it will be. Let's see what we got here. Slaw, chili, mustard, cheese, onions. Pretty cool to be in the last town that Andre the Giant called home. Say, that's pretty good. If this is what a giant eats, I'm totally in. I gotta say, if anybody on the town council of Ellerbe is watching this, you guys really should invest in a statue or a sign when people come into town that says the hometown of Andre the Giant or retirement hometown, whatever. I mean, just something to let people know that he was here and that that museum has his stuff, because I think it would be a much bigger draw to the town if you advertised that Andre lived here. I do all the driving and he does all the lounging. So we're gonna go out and see if we can't see some of the ranch, because Jackie told me that they have the one of the red barns that there's a pretty prominent photo of Andre walking beside, that barn is falling down and they do have plans to remove it. So I'd like to see it if we can. And I did think it was kind of cool when I met Jackie. I looked down and noticed on her ankle she had a dream catcher that said AFJ, which was the name of the ranch. Andre, Frenchie, and Jackie Ranch. So there's the entryway in, and here's a photo of Andre standing at the entrance of the AFJ before they took all the signs and everything down. Let's see if there's anybody out here you can ask. There's that old barn they're gonna take down. Jackie told me that they used to keep the signs up for the AFJ until Frenchie died, and then they took them down. Well, my friends, we're gonna call it a day. I hope you all enjoyed these 2 vlogs out here in Ellerbe, North Carolina. I've wanted to come out here for quite some time, pay homage to Andre the Giant. Andre's ashes are actually scattered out here on this property, but without being able to find anybody, I didn't want to go trespassing. I just wanted to see that barn that was in those photos, and especially since I heard they might be tearing it down any day now. So it's kind of cool to come out and check this out. Thank you all for watching from AFJ Ranch. We'll see you all next time. Have a great night and goodbye.